Aloha from the beautiful big island of Hawaii. I'm Kori Gaila. I'm so happy that you decided to join me again this week. I have a really exciting show today. Today we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about dependence and addiction. Kind of a heavy topic, something that is, I feel, very important. I'm going to have my beautiful guest, Asia, on today. She is the founder and director of Super Role Models and the Undependent Movement. She was a model in New York City, and she's currently residing in Poland. We've done some work together in the past with her foundation, and I'm very excited for her to be joining us today. Before we get into our topic of discussion too much today, I did again want to invite any of you to visit my website at www.korigaila.com. That's korigaila.com. Email me with questions or comments or ideas for show topics. I'm always open to hearing that feedback. Again, on my website, I do offer consultations and direct one-on-one consulting work. So if that's anything that might be of interest to you, just go ahead and again email me. I want to thank amestudios.com for helping with design and managing that website for me. They do a great job. Thank you very much, AME Studios. And also wanted to mention, if you do visit my website, please look under charity. 10% of anything that I generate on my website does go to support the Merrill Rebirth Foundation, which is a wonderful women's and children's charity in Kolkata, India. My dear friend, Ambassador Joyce Francis, has been working with a local village there, helping to train women with sustainability, developing small cottage industries, sustainable farming, helping create shelter for the women and children in that village. So I look forward to maybe even visiting them one day, and I wouldn't mind recording the experience. But again, go ahead and check me out at www.korigaila.com. Also, if you are interested in commercial ad space for this TV show on CTM News, please do shoot me an email. And I would love to have you as a sponsor of the show. Okay, so I am very excited to bring this topic to you. This is a huge problem globally. I'm going to focus a little bit on the United States, issues in the United States with addiction and dependence, but also it is a global problem, and my guest will be in Poland. So although she did spend a number of years in New York working, and was involved with her foundations, she did, recently moved to Poland and has seen, it's a problem in Poland as well. So it is a global phenomena, and we're not she's not just talking necessarily about alcohol and drug addiction dependency, but also other aspects of our lives. I mean, gambling is a huge problem. There's sex addiction, there's video game addiction. Really this idea of living a dependent-free lifestyle, which is how she actually coined the term undependent, that it does have more of a positive framing to it, that we can live our lives not dependent on external, substances or activities, but we can, really be free from that addiction. So for me, I did grow up in a household where alcohol was a major issue, and it was a very challenging upbringing. I'm not going to get into that in a lot of detail. However, the impact that it has on families and children and careers is devastating, and it can take a lifetime of work to overcome some of the impact that can occur for individuals who are exposed to a household where addiction kind of has a hold. So I really feel close to this topic, and I'm really happy to bring you information, of course, from my own experience, my own research. And then, having my background in psychology and behavior science. So in behavior science, really looking at behavior patterns. So addiction is not only a physiological issue, which is now considered to be a mental disorder with addiction. Oftentimes it's a comorbid situation where an individual may be treating another, either mental or it could be physical illness with the use of drugs or alcohol. So it can be compounded. And it is kind of a huge problem. So I want to get a little bit into that. I did go to addictioncenter.com just to pull up some new statistics for you. I'm just going to read a little bit of that to you. According to addictioncenter.com, alcohol, opioids, cocaine, or any other substance, addiction kills thousands of Americans every year and impacts millions of lives. Mental disorder, so it is considered at this time to be a mental disorder. It is a disorder which compels someone to repeatedly use substances or engage in behaviors even though they have harmful consequences. So, I even was a smoker at one time. I haven't smoked in a long time. My mom was a smoker. My dad was a smoker. It's a highly addictive behavior that does kill you. The evidence is linked, emphysema, lung cancer, it's all there. It can lead to suffering and death. You are compelled to repeat the behavior. So it doesn't start out as an addiction, but it can turn into an addiction. So addictions destroy marriages, friendships, careers, and threaten a person's basic health and safety. So yes, that is absolutely true. My mother did have cirrhosis of the liver from alcohol abuse and did end up dying eventually from lung cancer associated with smoking tobacco. Oftentimes this can run in families. There is, there's the modeled behavior. So children often repeat what they view from their, parents, what they're learning the world. And then there can be a genetic predisposition to addiction. So again, it's important to know those factors. If you are in a household where addiction is an issue, you may want to be more mindful when even experimenting. A lot of times, you're in your teenage years and you think it's all good and fun, and the next thing you know, you have a nicotine addiction, or you have an alcohol addiction, or you're marijuana dependent, or you're getting into some harder drugs, and even gambling, or again, video games. These things can be, if they're not maintained and managed, addicting, and then sort of take over your life. So I have a little bit of statistics I'm going to go ahead and read to you. Almost 21 million Americans have at least one addiction, yet only 10% of them receive treatment. Drug overdose deaths have more than tripled since 1990. From 1999 to 2017, more than 700,000 Americans died from drug overdose. Alcohol and drug addiction cost the U.S. economy over $600 billion every year. In 2017, 34.2 million Americans who have depression or an anxiety disorder also have a substance use disorder. So again, we're talking about that comorbid situation where you have one or more things going on. So somebody with a issue with depression or anxiety may be self-medicating with alcohol or marijuana, something to kind of take that edge off or help them with their depression. And then what happens is just becomes this sort of downward spiral, because you do have a point where the drug or the alcohol no longer gives you the same effect. And that's where you start to run into dependency. So you need to increase the amount of whatever substance it is that you may be using in order to gain the same effect. So if you're using something to medicate for your anxiety, you may be increasing that medication. And this can happen with prescription medications as well. So benzodiazepines, I talked about in the show that I did on depression and anxiety. Oftentimes individuals may be increasing their doses without even their medical doctor being aware of it. Sometimes people are getting things on the black market, right? So it is an anti-anxiety medication. Again, I did mention that benzodiazepine is really only supposed to be used for 2 weeks maximum. And there should be a tapering schedule. It's not an easy drug to get off of. Again, the opioids, right? We've talked about natural pain management. So sometimes these issues start out very innocent. You go in, you had an injury, you were in an accident, you have back pain, and you're prescribed an opioid for treatment for pain. But you end up in this dependency cycle, and now you have another problem that you're trying to deal with. So it is really good to understand your constitution, understanding family history and predisposition, right? Before it is something a doctor is supposed to ask when you go in. And if you have a history of substance abuse, but I would even extend that to if you have a family history of substance abuse, not just your personal history, but also if there's a family history of abuse, you want to be careful with some of these prescription medications that you may be getting. So again, looking at comorbidity, right? Pain, anxiety, depression, and then there's other things that also could create this kind of comorbid situation. Comorbid meaning more than one illness or disorder occurring at a time. More than 90% of people who have an addiction started to drink alcohol or use drugs before they were 18 years old. So again, it is not really benign for individuals whose brains are not fully developed to be experimenting with these things. So I would encourage, if I have any young viewers out there or any parents, really try to stay on top of that and understand that statistically speaking, 90% of people that struggle with addiction started using alcohol or drugs before they were 18 years old. For myself personally, with my smoking habit that I haven't engaged in a long time, probably 20 years now, I picked it up when I was a teenager. I think I was 14, 13, very young. Both parents smoked. We thought it was fun and we were being rebellious, not understanding that I was setting myself up for this battle with nicotine addiction, and nobody wants to be addicted. I mean, gosh, and the price of cigarettes nowadays, I just can't imagine anybody taking it up. And now we have these e-cigarettes. People are getting in. They're not benign. There's health issues associated with these things. So it's really important to be mindful. So Americans between 18 and 25 are the most likely to use addictive drugs. So again, there's that little window. If you can, with your children or youngsters who are watching, teenagers who may be watching, and even young adults, you don't want to get into the binge drinking. You really want to be aware that your brain is still developing and these things have an impact, and you really don't want to be 35, 40, 45 and you're struggling with issues in relationship or marriage or with your children or your career and battling an addiction. And when we say battle, it really is a battle. It is not easy. I mean, treatment centers wouldn't make any money if it was easy, right? It's really can be a challenge and very, very detrimental. So be cautious and be mindful, be aware. Alcohol is the most widely abused substance in the US, yet alcohol is often left untreated. It's very common in households to be drinking what would be considered a level of alcohol that is above moderate. It would be an excessive use of alcohol. And I wanted to well, let me just say, those statistics can be found on addictioncenter.com. So I didn't get into all of them. There's a number of other statistics and there's a lot more information. So I encourage you, if you want to go check out that website. It was very helpful for me to get those kind of updated statistics on this topic. But again, when we're looking at alcohol, also every year it says worldwide, alcohol is the cause of 5.3% of deaths or deaths every day. So that's 1 in, 5.3% of deaths. That's 1 in 20 every day, I believe. I can't read my writing. Sorry. Yes, 1 in 20. And then on average, 30 Americans die every day in an alcohol related car accident, and 6 Americans die every day from alcohol poisoning. So again, alcohol is not this benign substance. It can be really, really dangerous. So according to the Mayo Clinic, moderate alcohol use for healthy adults generally means up to 1 drink a day for women and up to 2 drinks a day for men. Now, so that's 1 drink, ladies, men, that's 2 drinks at most to be considered moderate, and that's a daily use of alcohol. And an example of 1 drink would be 1 12-ounce beer or 5 fluid ounces of wine. So when you hear these statistics on, say, wine being healthy for your heart, to help with stress reduction, for the resveratrol from the grapes and antioxidants and these other things, they are talking about 5 ounces of wine. They are not talking about 2 glasses, 3 glasses, daily use. If you're going to be using alcohol daily, women, it's 5 ounces, 5 fluid ounces a day, or a 12-ounce beer. Men, that's 2 beers and 2 5-ounce glasses of wine, or 10 ounces a day. I did not look at the statistics for hard alcohol, but I think it's like 1 fluid ounce. So being mindful of that, right? Drinking can increase the issues with your liver and liver health. Also can increase your risk of heart attack. So it is not a very safe substance if you're using it in high quantities. So be mindful, be aware, don't abuse, right? And getting into this place of dependence. So again, I did mention comorbidity a bit. There are other health conditions that can lead to some addictive behaviors. Again, my background is in behavior science. A couple of disorders, developmental disorders that I researched when I was in graduate school really were ADD, ADHD, autism. Interesting articles that I found when I was doing a lot of this research. Individuals with ADD, ADHD have challenges and difficulty producing dopamine. And dopamine, again, is the neurotransmitter I've talked to you about before. It is the feel-good reward center of the brain. So Adderall medication, ADD medication, right, gives individuals something like 10,000 times the amount of dopamine. So that dopamine is what's allowing them to stay focused and calm, right? Another substance that releases a lot of dopamine is marijuana. Sometimes there is a correlation between ADD, ADHD, and marijuana dependence. Now, we're not talking about medical marijuana. I'm not talking about medical marijuana, okay, where we're talking about an individual who is in cancer treatment and is having a terrible time and is in a lot of pain and is vomiting from chemotherapy. And in that case, medical marijuana could be a great alternative to some of the other medications that are out there. We're talking about somebody with a sustained situation, a lifetime of issues with, say, ADD, ADHD, and issues with dopamine and increasing dopamine in the brain, where you can fall into this dependency. And if you're not getting that proper treatment for that underlying condition, you can be having issues. Individuals with autism, they have found, do not have the oxytocin in the same levels as individuals without autism. Oxytocin is that bonding hormone, and it's a really feel-good hormone. So individuals with these type of developmental issues are going to be more prone to addiction, okay? It's just very important that we are managing and watching our health and getting the type of care that we need, understanding what those underlying causes may be. So again, addiction, you may be treating yourself for depression, for anxiety. We're looking at COVID here. It's causing a lot of issues with anxiety and depression. And that being said, be mindful of how you are handling and dealing with your anxiety and depression, and making sure that you're not falling into a pattern of dependence to treat these issues from the pandemic. Our entire world has shifted and changed. Everything is different. That can be totally overwhelming. So I want to just talk a brief moment about a little bit with my behavior background. Looking at, behaviors have functions. In behavior analysis, they define 4 functions of behavior. Can be sensory stimulation, escape, access to attention, and access to tangibles. Tangibles meaning there could be a behavior to gain access to something that you want. And then that behavior continues to be reinforced, and over time it becomes habitual behavior because you're gaining access to that reinforcement. Reinforcement meaning whatever it is that you're getting, that is that reward that you want, that is going to increase that behavior. But the other 3 I want to look at is sensory stimulation, escape, and access to attention. So access to attention can be social acceptance, okay? So a lot of times with teens, when we're talking about teens, not always just teens, but often we're looking at teenagers, young adults, there's this idea of wanting to be accepted, wanting to fit in. A lot of times the younger folks will fall into this pattern of behavior because they're trying to fit in. So for social acceptance, so that would be, and then say the more they engage in this behavior of partying, drinking with their friends at parties, smoking cigarettes, e-cigarettes, whatever it is that they're doing, they're gaining that social acceptance. So then it becomes somewhat habitual. That is the behavior pattern. That is that emotional sort of behavior, right? That reinforcement. But then we're also getting into this chemical issue where there's a chemical dependence that begins to start happening. The nicotine addiction, the alcohol addiction, the physiological addiction. So it's twofold. It is a behavior that starts, and then whether or not it's just that emotional, like that reinforcement from that behavior that prolongs that, and then it falls into physical addiction, or the physical addiction comes before the, say, emotional component of that. Oftentimes it's twofold. So even when you get the physical addiction under control, you still may have this emotional component, okay? Sometimes that could be related to a traumatic event that has happened, and getting into the crux of what that underlies is. So that brings me to 2 others. So we have escape, okay? Escape behaviors. So escape would be, you have a lot of anxiety, you want to get out of your anxiety. You've got a lot of depression, you want to get out of your depression. You're escaping, okay? So escape behaviors, quite literally, when we talk about, say, video games, gambling, alcohol, drug use, we quite literally are escaping from our reality, right? There's healthy behaviors we can use to escape from our reality, going for a run, going for a hike, going for a swim. You can become addicted to exercise. It does happen. Some people can overdo it with exercise. So again, there's moderation and balance in all things that we do. And the other thing that maintains behavior is sensory stimulation. So again, some drugs are for sensory stimulation, the experience of being drunk, the experience of being high, wanting or craving that type of experience, okay? So it's a complicated issue, not easy. I'm gonna bring my guest Asia on after the commercial break, and she's gonna go into a little bit more detail. One of the things that she works with is meditation, and I have brought up meditation before. Again, I want to preface this with this idea of meditation being woo-woo or religious in nature. There are some forms of meditation that fall into that category. However, you could also look at other forms of meditation as, like, say, guided practice to help calm the mind, breathing exercises, right? Things to just calm and relax. Many psychologists, health practitioners will use some of these breathing techniques, some of these visualization techniques to help individuals process grief, to help individuals handle stress and anxiety, right? You always hear stop, count to 3, take a deep breath before you speak, before you react, right? If you're feeling reactive in a situation, maybe you're getting angry and you can feel yourself escalating. And then if you just stop and you count to 3, give yourself a moment instead of react. You're interrupting that reactive response, that autopilot, that automatic response. So we can even view meditation in that way, right? There are, gurus and religious leaders and a lot of these different things that may incorporate meditation. But when we're talking here, we're talking about visualization. That can even be what athletes use, right? Visualize yourself hitting a home run. You see the bat, it's hitting the ball is taking off, it's going over the fence. You're visualizing, you're mentally rehearsing activities. And so again, when we talk about plasticity of the brain, reshaping the brain, retraining the brain, putting in that positive information, this is all could be, an umbrella title. Could be meditation, mindfulness, thoughtfulness, positive affirmations. Whatever it is, programming, we can think of it as mental programming if we want to think about that, right? So what we put in our brain ends up becoming our world, right? How we think is how we speak, what we do, how we engage in the world, right? And so it really starts from this mental processing. And so I am going to go ahead and step away for a moment. We're going to go ahead and go to our commercial sponsors for a break. When I come back, I will be back with my beautiful guest, Asia. And I will see you guys soon.
Many people are searching for answers to health challenges. There are natural solutions for a healthy and empowered lifestyle that can be delivered right to your door. Email Carol at carolbirchwell.com and type Health with Kori in the subject line to receive a free ebook on essential oils. Visit carolbirchwell.com and connect with Carol via email for your free ebook. She will help you find the natural solutions that work specifically for you.
Visit KoriGaila.com and schedule your wellness consultation to receive a custom-designed, scientifically sound behavior action plan that is holistically based. Browse the website and enjoy free articles and valuable health and beauty information. Receive your free holistic skincare ebook, KoriGaila.com. All right, I am back with my beautiful guest, Asia Dyrkacz. Did I say that right, Asia?
Yes, pretty good.
Okay, good. She's joining me from Poland today, which is really exciting. My family's from Poland, and so how wonderful to feel that connection and be able to bring you to our U.S. audience today. How are you doing today?
Super. I am great. I'm really excited to talk with you. Thank you for having me.
I am so happy to have you. So today we have been discussing a little bit about dependence. You know, this show really does talk about alternative natural health, natural approaches to health. And there's just a big problem in our country and the world really with dependence, whether it be drug dependence, alcohol dependence, gambling dependence. We've seen issues with, you know, even video games, issues with children with dependence on tech and things of that nature. And so I was going a little bit into, you know, how we change, like my background's in behavior science. Uh, and so I'm always looking at changing behavior, but, you know, benefits of meditation for helping to change patterns and helping to change, you know, our brain plasticity and just a number of different alternatives for helping people get out of those behavior patterns. And so my understanding is that you have a history and background as a, I guess, a drug counselor, is that correct? Or addiction counselor, is that correct?
That's correct. I mean, I do have a lot of qualifications. One of them is I finished 350 hours of addiction consulting, correct. I also have a certificate as a meditation coach for addictive parents. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, both are very helpful. And, you know, of course, meditation is a holistic approach for people who are in recovery. And I think it's very helpful as a, you know, treat the person as a whole, mind, body, spirit. So,
Absolutely. Wonderful. And so much, oftentimes, you know, one of the things is that an addiction or a dependency can be used really for stress management is a big thing, or dealing with grief. Sometimes people will pick up these not as healthy alternatives. And meditation, from my understanding, is a wonderful way to help people manage stress and maybe the grieving process as well. What's your experience with that?
I totally agree with you. In fact, I think dependency, addictions, or any bad behavior is pretty much not the problem. The problem is really something which people have, you know, trauma, which happened perhaps in childhood, or stress level, could be, you know, divorce or anything tragic happen in people's lives. And this is when they, you know, that's the time when they get anxiety and they reach for something to make them feel better. And there are different things make different people better. Like you said, can be alcohol, could be drugs, could be sex, could be internet, could be gambling. So unfortunately, very often when people get engaged in those activities or pattern, they become addictive. And so it's a basically escape from the problem. So I believe that meditation is the practice of meditation is really amazing tool to really help people to get in touch with the core and perhaps heal the real problem. Of course, not only meditation, but can be one of the tools.
One of the tools.
Yeah, one of the tools help them to really heal the problem. And like I always say, become independent from anything and anyone.
Undependent. I love that term, undependent. I think it's beautiful. And I know that I've been a little bit involved with your organization, and you did have the Models Against Addiction was, I believe, the first part of that. And now you've, uh, I guess, transformed into this undependent movement. I've even seen you call it a movement, and you have, you know, an independent day and things of that nature. So can you elaborate just a bit as to what that platform is and what you really are trying to share with the world?
Yes, of course. Yes. So we actually create this word independent. It doesn't exist in the English dictionary. It's UN dash dependent. We trademark this because I think that, you know, addictions is a kind of heavy and stigmatized word. So we think dependency is much lighter, much loving. So instead of saying, you know, I am in recovery or I have a problem with addiction, people can say I am independent.
Right.
So
it's a positive reframing.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we did have the charity with the name Mothers Against Addictions. However, when we have the Me Too movement, we create a group models with the name Super Role Models. And somehow we develop different workshops and different meetings and online courses to help the mothers also to have more balanced and healthy lifestyle. And this year, beginning of this year, we actually changed the name of the foundations from Models Against Addictions to Super Role Model Foundations. The reason was that I felt, and I got a lot of feedbacks that, you know, against addictions is perhaps not the best way. It's kind of negative force.
Right.
So we try to change this to more positive. That's why we changed the name to Super Role Models
And that's
Foundation.
beautiful, beautiful
Yeah.
name.
I think it is. I mean, part of it is that we are a models, and I think it's, you know, as a role models, we can give good example.
Right.
And we focus on, I guess, three groups in society. One will be the models, the fashion industry. We help them. We do different workshops for them. We also practice meditation during the fashion week. Of course, that was in the past, because right now we cannot do this. We also focus on people who are in recovery. I actually myself work with shelters in New York City when I practice meditation with them, and also everybody else, because like we said, these people have so many addictions. So we also try to get engaged with people who may not necessarily think they have dependency, but somehow they are not in balance. You know, they may have depression or whatever. So we also try to help them.
Wonderful.
So one mission is to really provide them with meditation as a holistic approach to dependency. Another mission is to actually change the stigma. And this is a huge problem, I think, in every country. I mean, I noticed this in America, now in Poland.
Oh, you see it in Poland? I'm
Very
surprised.
much,
Wow.
very much. Actually, perhaps even more than in America. And so we would love to change the stigma, and we right now in process of preparing campaign with the name Independent. And there are many different steps, I guess, but I think the one I would like to share with you is that we came with the idea that on 11th day of each month, we promote on social media and ask everyone to refrain from any dependency they have for 24 hours, which I think is amazing test for people. I mean, it has actually many reasons. First, I think people can see how difficult it is to stop anything they do all the time.
Right.
You know, even looking on Facebook, yes, for
or
24
grabbing
hours.
your phone first thing in the morning and seeing if you have any messages.
Can you do it? And then you see, wow, this is not so easy. Oh, I have anxiety, right? I don't know how to deal with that. So I think this kind of feeling give them really the experience of know what really dependency is. Suddenly they might realize, well, this is not so easy, you know, because unfortunately, many people think that dependency is a choice. It's not real. I mean, right now they've done a lot of study and they really think it's a, I would say, illness of the brain. However, many people still think, oh, you can just stop. You don't have to do that. Why are you doing this? And there is a lack of acceptance from society, from the family members. So very often, you know, the person is really left alone, which I think is terrible because, you know, when they left alone, obviously they go more engaged in the dependency. So I would love to really, through different campaigns, to change that and have more compassion and love for people who have dependency, especially, of course, the heavy one, drugs, alcohol, smoking. Right now, you know, we have the opioid epidemic. I mean, 120 people die every day in US. And
many times this is started from a legal medical prescription and to treat pain. And the next thing you know, these are highly addictive substances, they're misprescribed. And then the person finds themselves in this position where they've become dependent. And it's interesting to note because I think one, you're talking about the emotional dependency that can be very prolonged. And when you talk about, like, say, harder substances, there is this chemical physiological dependency. And oftentimes I think the idea is when you get that out of your system, you're good, you know, but the underlying issue is this emotional dependence that's become this behavioral habit, which I know meditation for one can help, but it can extend much longer, where it sounds like what you're saying is we need to kind of come together and create this support for this
more longer term situation that requires different, say,
approach.
approaches.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, of course, there's a lot of help when you go on internet. There's a million different sites,
Right.
you know, and rehabs. Of course, not everybody can afford. Average rehabs cost, you know, 25,000 for month.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
so it's not accessible to everybody. I was just
Right.
reading about one celebrity who spent $300,000 in year
Wow.
just to, you know, to fix his problem.
Mm.
But I just think that there has to be beginning, there has to be a movement, and the movement has to involve really the whole society. It has to have a different aspects. Like right now, I am working on campaign independent, like I mentioned, with celebrities in Poland. We would love to do some campaign with the maybe photos and different slogans in the metro or you know, also in buses, to kind of show to people that even though also we know that celebrities do have that problem, but still somehow, even if they have the money, they have the access, you know, they still very often relapse, and it's a huge problem for them also. So the campaign will also include support, for example, website which will have all, they don't have in Poland right now sources like this. I mean, they do, but I think that one website which will have all the information,
Right.
when somebody has a problem, can go there and have, you know, all the AA meetings, but also maybe therapists, also maybe meditation, when you can go and sit whatever in one place.
Right.
Is
And
very
see
needed.
all those resources so that
Exactly.
you're not left
Yes.
just not knowing where to go.
Even,
Yes.
you know, because even if you search, it's not that easy. Yes, you can find everything on Google, but still, you know, it's so many information, you can get lost. And so one source of information like this, I think, will be very helpful.
Very
So we
helpful.
want to, we want to combine this with the campaign, and also with this promotion of 11 of each month, that each month we're gonna, you know, promote on social media, so everybody can on this particular day try and and refrain from anything they think they have dependency. Can be even 10 cups of coffee a day, you know.
Okay.
It's not tragic, obviously. You're not gonna die from
I
it.
don't know. I might find it tragic. I love my coffee.
How
Not
many
10,
cups coffee?
not 10 cups, 1 cup.
Well, 1 cup. No, 1 cup is okay. That is even
Okay.
suggested. I think it's up to 2 cups is okay.
Okay,
But
good.
but still, there are people who actually drink coffee through whole day, you know, because
Yes.
give them energy or whatever. And obviously, it's not too good to have too much caffeine.
Or sugar, soda pops, candy bars.
Sugar addictions absolutely is a
Right.
huge problem. Actually, sugar addictions, I think, is 7-8 times more addictive than cocaine.
Wow.
So it's a really huge
And
problem, obviously.
a lot of foods that you wouldn't believe have sugar. I mean, that could be a place to start. Really read ingredients, because so many canned goods or processed foods have sugar as an additive. And you don't even know you're getting this sugar in half the foods you may be eating. And when you look at and you read the ingredients, there it is, you know, second,
Absolutely,
third
absolutely.
ingredient.
Yeah, or just habit of eating, you know, you skip the lunch, you go and grab some candy bar or whatever, you
Right.
know, that becomes, especially with models, you know, they don't have time. And even when we have the shooting, very often there's a candy bars all over.
Yeah, and then they want you to be, you know, a
Skinny,
size
yeah.
2, and
Yes,
then they have.
exactly.
I was in the film industry, so we had the craft services was always out, and yet you're supposed to fit into these tiny clothes, and yet you have
Yeah,
this food everywhere. So
it's true.
you are a model currently, and you did have a modeling career in New York, and so you did see a lot of these issues with addiction within that industry specifically, correct? And I think
Yes,
that's where this campaign it began, correct?
I did.
Helping.
That's true. I mean, I mean, my reason why this cause is so close to my heart has many different, I guess, background. It comes with my family. Unfortunately, from generation to generation, was alcoholism. Also, I have many friends with a problem with addictions, many. And then recently, last few years, when I got involved with the super role models, I actually have many young women in 20s who I noticed they have a lot of issues, and they have they, of course, we think they don't eat, but they do have for example, they have bulimia, eating disorders, or they don't eat very healthy. So, and they smoke, they drink, they do take drugs. Is a industry with, unfortunately, a lot of dark sides. And we just look this glamorous life they have, but there's another side when there's a lot of depression issue, because of of the requirements they have, and they very stressed. And yeah, it's a very tough business.
It's very
And
tough. But I ran
yes.
away to a farm. I was 23, and I thought everybody in Hollywood, it was
Good
just,
for you.
I ran off to a farm to grow garlic and make hammocks. When I was, I think, 22, I was like, oh no, I can't do this.
This is not for, yeah, it's a lot of pressure. It's
Well,
true.
it is, and there are these weight requirements and height requirements, and then when you're on set, there are high demands, and then a lot of sitting and hurry up and wait, and in and out of work. And so these are a lot of things that people that are not in that industry, they don't see. And then you're expected to be on stage or be in front of the camera and then just be on. It's showtime. It's 3 a.m. and it's showtime.
Absolutely. Doesn't matter what weather it is, and whatever time
Yes.
it is. And also, just going to the casting is very stressful. There's so much
Ugh,
competition, and
yes.
you have to be really strong mentally. And unfortunately,
Mhm.
many girls start this job when they're 14, 15. They're not
Exactly.
mature. There's, of course, a lot of sexual abuse, and so
Mhm.
it's a tough,
Every-
very tough business. And many girls dream about being model, but I would say, I personally think that this modeling should be starting when women are 16 or even 18, not
Yes.
14,
Yes.
because
And having parents that are hopefully involved and looking out for their kids' best interests, because even the level of rejection that all models go through because of, like you said, casting,
oh,
or actors or
you may go
actresses or
to 10
musicians,
castings, yeah.
and then of course you take it personally because modeling is based on, you don't have the right look, or you have the look or not the look. It has nothing to do with your appearance or how you look. But I think with the younger women and even older women, it can be taken personally that you don't look pretty enough or skinny enough, and then you can start this sort of problematic self-destructive behavior based on that kind of feedback, which is just the way that the industry works. And like you're saying, I think it takes a little bit more mature mindset to have the strength to not take it personally.
Yes, so we're actually starting right now workshops here in Warsaw. We will have art therapy, which is amazingly healing. We have a couple of those sessions in New York, and I have to tell you, I mean, we have models, and so many things came out, emotional, crying, and talking about the relationship with parents, about the jobs, was really beautiful, and also meditation. We also would love to work with modeling agency in Warsaw to start, help those girls. But like I said, that's just one section of our work. We also want to focus on people who are in recovery. The problem is that, when you say meditation, for many people, this is scary, and
Some
the
kind of
government.
religious woo-woo or something like
Exactly, yeah.
that, right?
So we actually try to change this to more as a, breathing techniques. We try to use this
Exactly.
more as a breathing techniques, which helps, you to be more calm, more relaxed. And
Right.
right now, more and more, this is used in businesses. Many businesses, many companies are using this for the employees. School also, because, the students really have better grades and they become more calm. In prisons also, because somehow the violence is less. So some gurus think that meditations is what is gonna heal the world. We cannot stop the violence, we cannot stop the wars, but if people become more conscious and more peaceful,
Right.
then when things will change, and more aware, of course, we're gonna save the earth. We're gonna make good choices, I guess.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, so I am so happy that you were able to join me today. Again, your campaign is called Undependent, and if our viewers want to learn more about your campaign and what you're doing, do you have a web address that you can share with us
Yes,
or?
yes, please.
Okay.
Superrolemodels.org, but it's with
Okay.
one R, because
Okay.
super role is one R. Superrolemodels.org. Yes, we have all the
Superrolemodels.org.
on.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. And thank you for the work that you're doing and bringing awareness to this big issue. I think it's a wonderful calling, and I really appreciate everything you do.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you, Asia. Aloha.
Aloha.
Hi, I'm Maria Rene Davila, founder of the Successful Women in Business and Chief Executive Officer of the Global Trade Chamber. During this global pandemic, many small businesses are struggling to survive and find new clients. We have created a great opportunity for you. For the first time ever, we present the 100 Successful Women in Business live virtual convention. 5 reasons why you cannot miss this fabulous event. Learn from global experts at the conference. Meet the incredible women leaders being recognized from many nations. Visit the Business Virtual Expo. Network and introduce yourself to other business owners. Receive a complimentary copy of the Global Trade Chamber digital magazine. And don't forget the International Fashion Show. We have a very special gift for you to participate. 50% off of all packages participating in this fabulous event now. Visit our website www.100swb.com. I hope to see you there.
Thank you so much for joining me again this week. I look forward to meeting with you again next week. Again, please do send me suggestions, any questions you may have to korigaila.com. Until then, stay happy, stay healthy. I will see you next week. Aloha.